Hey there, fellow Stoic learners. In a world where everyone's trying to impress, you're different. You speak less, but when you do, she listens, because your words come from a place of strength, not need. Let me ask you this. What if a single well-placed compliment could make her feel seen in a way no one else ever has? Today's video breaks down 10 forbidden compliments, the kind that don't flatter her ego but touch something deeper, her desire, her identity. And with Stoic clarity, you'll learn when to speak them and when silence speaks louder. So if becoming irresistible through presence and precision is your goal, hit that like button, subscribe, and join us here on Stoic Love. We turn ancient wisdom into real power every day. Remember, true Stoic masculinity isn't loud, it's steady. And when you speak from that place, she feels it not just in her ears, but in her gut. Tell me, where are you watching from? And which of these 10 compliments would you dare to say first? Comment below, I'm listening. All right, let's get into the first one. And it's not what you think. Number 1, I see the way you carry silence. You say this to her not in a moment of noise, but in the quiet, after she's stopped trying to be understood. Not when she's laughing, not when she's glowing under admiration, but when she's still, withdrawn, almost invisible. And when those words fall, I see the way you carry silence. Something inside her unclenches. Because the world only praises her when she performs, when she sparkles, when she pleases, when she gives. But you noticed her when she gave nothing at all. That's what makes this compliment forbidden, not because it's offensive, but because it dares to touch something few ever reach. Her sacred interior. You're telling her, I notice you even when you go quiet. I see the way you hold back not to hide, but to protect. I feel the shape of your soul when the world grows quiet around you, and that touches a place no surface-level affection ever could. Because she doesn't want to be praised for what everyone sees. She wants to be noticed where she believes she disappears. The feminine longs to be recognized in the spaces between her expressions, not just in the beauty she shows, but in the mystery she conceals. This kind of compliment doesn't seek validation, it offers reverence. It tells her, your silence speaks and I'm listening. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. So what happens when a woman's silence has been filled with anxiety, overthinking old pain? She retreats. She wonders if she's lovable when she's not performing softness. She wonders if anyone will stay when the words run out. And then you say it. I see the way you carry silence. And in that moment, you do more than flatter, you witness. You witness the quiet strength she uses to keep herself from unraveling. You witness the emotional depth she's too tired to explain. You witness the part of her that has been unseen for years and love her there. If you are a man, learn this. Women are not only moved by the compliments that elevate their body, they are undone by the words that pierce the veil of their quiet. When you notice her silence not as something to fix, not as a red flag, but as a sacred expression of her soul's current, you speak into a space that no man has ever dared enter. You say to her, you don't need to sparkle for me to see your worth. And suddenly she's no longer performing for attention. She's relaxing into love. So say it. Not as a line, not as strategy. Say it when it's real. Say it when she thinks she's invisible. Say it when she's tired of explaining herself to a world that only listens when she's loud. Say it and mean it. I see the way you carry silence. And in that stillness, she'll begin to see you not as a man who wants something from her, but as a man who sees into her. And that is the beginning of a love she never saw coming. Number 2, your mind turns me on more than your body. You say this and something shifts. Her eyes may narrow not in skepticism but in surprise, because so few have ever said it, and even fewer meant it. The world has taught her one thing. Her body is the entry point. Her face is the currency. Her curves are the invitation. Everything else, her wit, her insights, her intellect, those are bonuses, never the main event. So when you say, your mind turns me on more than your body, you don't just compliment her. You reorder her identity. You say to her, What you think is what seduces me. What lives behind your eyes is what draws me closer. Your beauty is undeniable, but your consciousness is what makes me stay. And suddenly she realizes she's being felt on a level no one's ever explored. This compliment is forbidden because it cuts through culture. It defies expectation. It shifts attention from the outer shell to the soul's architecture. It tells her, "You don't have to strip to be seen." Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul is dyed the color of its thoughts." And what a woman thinks, what she questions, what she imagines, that's where her deepest eroticism lives. She's been with men who adored her body, men who chased the shape, the skin, the spark of external beauty. But when that beauty paused, when she had nothing on to offer, they wandered, because their desire had no anchor. It lived on surfaces. You anchor in something deeper. You listen when she drifts into wonder. You lean in when her ideas stretch beyond logic. You track the rhythm of her reasoning, and you're aroused by the way she sees, not by accident, not by novelty, but because you've evolved past the body as your only compass. You've disciplined your desire until your attraction is conscious. And that is what the feminine truly longs for, to be wanted for more than just what she reveals, to be desired for what she discovers. When you say, "Your mind turns me on more than your body," you give her permission to step fully into her power. She no longer has to trade intellect for intimacy. She no longer has to dim her wisdom to appear more feminine. She no longer has to fear that being sharp makes her less desirable. Because finally she's met a man who isn't intimidated by her brilliance. He's ignited by it. And in that moment, you don't just win her body, you win her trust, her creativity, her soul. If you are a man, learn to see the mind as foreplay, the way she argues a point, the way she breaks down a pattern, the way she connects ancient ideas to modern questions. That is seduction. That is art. That is a kind of intimacy that leaves fingerprints not on skin, but on memory. So tell her, and mean it. Your mind turns me on more than your body. Let her beauty be seen, but let her consciousness be celebrated. And she will open, not because you asked her to, but because you proved you could handle everything she is without shrinking. Number 3, you don't need to smile for me to feel you. She walks into the room, and already the world wants something from her. A look, a gesture, a spark of warmth. It's expected, this unspoken labor of the feminine. Be delightful, be pleasant, be bright. She's been conditioned to carry the weight of everyone's emotional comfort, to smile even when her heart is silent, to lift the mood even when hers is heavy. And so she performs, not out of vanity, out of survival, because experience has taught her. If she isn't cheerful, she's a problem. If she isn't light, she's a burden. If she isn't smiling, then something must be wrong with her. But then you say it, "You don't need to smile for me to feel you." And for the first time in a long time, she breathes. Because in that single sentence, you've removed the expectation. You've freed her from the performance. You're telling her, "You don't owe me charm. You don't have to make me comfortable with your mood. You don't have to trade your emotional truth for my approval." This compliment is not about her mouth. It's about her right to exist without entertaining you. And that, to her, is revolutionary. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig." That's what you're doing here. You're digging beneath the surface, beneath the reflex smile, beneath the polite mask. You're seeing her, not the energy she's been taught to give, not the light she's been forced to wear, but the human beneath the effort. And that's where real desire is born. Because when you say, "You don't need to smile for me to feel you," what you're really saying is, your being is enough. Not your beauty, not your performance, not your ability to keep the room feeling warm, just your presence, raw, silent, true. And when a woman feels that, when she knows she can sit beside you, unsmiling, unfiltered, she softens in ways no compliment to her looks could ever unlock. Because suddenly she's no longer being observed, she's being held. If you are a man, you must understand. Her smile is a gift, but her truth is the real offering. And if she senses that your love is tied to how agreeable she acts, she'll never fully trust it. She'll perform, but she'll never reveal. So notice her quiet, notice her neutrality, notice the days when her smile doesn't come so easily, and love her there. Look at her and say, I don't need you to brighten this moment. I just need you to be in it. Let your presence speak louder than pressure. Let your awareness wrap around her in a way that says, you can exhale here. Because when you do that, when you detach your desire from her performance, you become the one place she can stop pretending. And in that space, she becomes more than a partner. She becomes something sacred, fully present, fully seen, fully safe. Number 4, there's fire in your restraint. She's been told she's too much, too loud, too emotional, too opinionated, and yet in all her too much, she's never been truly seen when she's at her most powerful, not when she explodes, but when she holds back. That's the paradox few men understand. Her true strength isn't always in the way she speaks, but in the way she chooses not to. It's in the bite she doesn't deliver, the truth she doesn't weaponize, the storm she could unleash but doesn't. And when you look at her and say, there's fire in your restraint, you're not just complimenting her self-control, you're recognizing the sacred mastery behind her silence. You're saying, I see your power in the places no one else notices. I feel the intensity you're capable of and the wisdom it takes to hold it. That kind of compliment isn't casual, it's dangerous, because it touches the edge of the volcano and whispers, I respect what you could burn and that you choose not to. Most men only react to the outbursts. They respond to what's loud, what's obvious, what spills out when she's had enough. But you honor the moments she paused. You praise the dignity in her delay. You look into her eyes and see not just emotion, but the discipline behind it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And the woman who has mastered herself doesn't need to dominate others. She doesn't need to scream to be heard. She doesn't need to crush to prove her worth. She lets her silence speak. Her restraint becomes her aura. Her calm becomes her command. But make no mistake, there is fire in it. When she walks away instead of arguing, that's fire. When she chooses grace instead of revenge, that's fire. When she closes her mouth while her mind is crafting lightning, that is power incarnate. And when you tell her there's fire in your restraint, you're telling her, I see how much you could destroy, how much you could dominate, and that you choose presence instead. That recognition that melts her, because now she knows you're not just with her when she's soft. You're with her essence even when it's unspoken, coiled, watching. You become the first man who isn't afraid of her intensity and who doesn't need her to prove it to believe it. You validate the unexpressed. You respect the pause. You revere the woman who chooses her power rather than throws it. And in doing so, you give her permission to remain complex, to be both heat and disciplined fury, and form emotion and elegance. If you are a man, stop praising only what spills out of her. Start honoring what stays in. She doesn't want to be admired for how loud she can get. She wants to be seen for the world she holds in quiet strength. So look at her one day in that moment when she takes a deep breath, when she closes her eyes, when she says nothing, even though you know she could say everything. Look at her and say, there's fire in your restraint. And watch the way she opens, not with force, but with sacred trust. Because she knows now you don't just want her when she erupts, you want her when she reins herself in. And that is love evolved. Number 5, I respect the way you protect your heart. There's a reason she doesn't open easily, a reason her laughter sometimes has armor underneath, a reason her softness arrives slowly wrapped in hesitation. She's been taught by pain, not words, that giving too quickly leads to being discarded. That vulnerability is a transaction she often pays for alone. That love, as the world has shown her, can be cruel dressed up as romance. So she builds walls, not to push men away, but to see who's strong enough to approach with honor. When you say, I respect the way you protect your heart, you don't just compliment her caution, you validate her dignity. You're telling her, you don't owe me access just because I want it. Your boundaries are not a flaw, they are a sign of self-respect. I see the cost of what you've carried, and I won't demand more than you're ready to give. This kind of compliment is rare, because most men misinterpret her caution as coldness. They take her discernment personally. They say she's guarded with resentment in their tone, as if the depth of her soul should be freely available just because they showed up. But you understand that a guarded heart is not a rejection. It's an invitation to rise, to prove yourself through patience, to show her that not every man wants to conquer. Some want to cultivate. Some want to hold her with such respect that she chooses to open on her own. Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." And most men, they never begin to truly love, because they fear a woman who makes them earn her trust. They want quick comfort, not real connection. But you are not most men. You don't try to break her walls. You stand in front of them, calm, steady, consistent. You wait not out of weakness, but out of reverence for what lives behind them. You understand that a heart worth holding will never be handed over cheaply, and that when she finally lets you in, you are walking through the gates of a kingdom built on scars, memories, and silent battles. No one applauded her for surviving. So when you say, "I respect the way you protect your heart," you are saying, "I see your history. I honor your fight. And I do not see your boundaries as an obstacle. I see them as proof of your wisdom." That is the kind of presence that melts her, not because you pushed through, but because you understood why she had to build the wall in the first place. If you are a man, do not chase her trust. Earn it, not through grand gestures, but through the quiet consistency of character, through the gentleness of a man who knows. A heart held too quickly will close again, but a heart held rightly will bloom forever. So look at her on the days when she flinches at your closeness, when she questions your motives, when she pulls back not out of hate, but out of memory, and say it softly from the deepest place in you. I respect the way you protect your heart, and in that moment you don't just become a man she desires, you become the man she can finally trust to walk through her gates and never leave damage behind. Number 6, you look most beautiful when you're not trying. It stops her not because she doubts it, but because she's rarely heard it spoken with such certainty. She's used to being complimented when she's trying, when the makeup is perfect, when the lighting is kind, when her lips curve just right and her outfit is curated for admiration. That's when the world notices. That's when men rush to praise her, when she's edited, when she's aware, when she's on. But when you look at her in the quiet morning light, with messy hair and tired eyes, wearing nothing but presence, and you say, "You look most beautiful when you're not trying," you shatter the illusion she's been taught to uphold. Because now she's not being seen for the version of her that performs. She's being seen for the one who exists. No effort, no filter, no mask. And in that moment, you're not just complimenting her appearance, you're setting her free. Free from the constant pressure to impress. Free from the subconscious fear that love must be earned through aesthetics. Free from the cultural lie that her worth lives in how well she plays the game. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth." This compliment is truth. It cuts through years of messaging that told her, "Be beautiful first, then you'll be valued." But now she hears a deeper truth. You are most radiant when you're simply being yourself. And something in her relaxes. Her shoulders drop. Her breath deepens. The part of her that constantly checks, compares, and adjusts goes still. Because for once, she's not being adored for the artifice of femininity. She's being cherished for the essence of it. And that opens a part of her that no physical compliment ever reaches. When you say, "You look most beautiful when you're not trying," you are saying, "I am not attracted to your effort. I am attracted to your ease. You do not need to impress me. I am already here. Your rawness is enough." And she begins to understand this is a man who won't run when the makeup comes off. A man who won't withdraw when she's undone. A man who sees her beauty not as something she applies, but something she already is. If you are a man, look for beauty in the places where she isn't looking for attention. Catch it in her laugh when she's not aware, in her posture when she's lost in thought, in the sleepy vulnerability of her face before she remembers the world is watching. Love her there, see her there, tell her that's where her glow lives, not in effort but in essence. And when you do, when you name that secret place where she's most herself and tell her it's the most beautiful thing you've seen, she will no longer feel the need to earn your admiration. She will know it's already hers. Number 7, your emotions don't scare me. You don't say it as a line. You say it as an anchor, a steadying truth that tells her, I won't leave when you feel too deeply, because she's learned over time that her emotions come with consequences. When she cried, he called her dramatic. When she got angry, he shut down. When she felt too much needed, too much expressed too much, she became too much. And slowly, silently, she began to mute herself. She learned how to swallow the storm, to numb the ache, to smile through sadness, to hide the fire of her feelings because it only ever burned bridges. But when you say, your emotions don't scare me, you're offering something rare, emotional sanctuary, not a place where she's analyzed, not a place where she's managed, but a space where she is fully allowed to feel, not just the gentle ones, not just the pretty ones, all of them. You're telling her, I don't flinch when you cry. I don't panic when you're angry. I don't lose myself when you lose your center. And that to her is revolutionary, because most men want the parts of a woman that are easy to love, the laughter, the affection, the arousal. But few want to stay present in her emotional depth, where vulnerability bleeds through, where fear makes her defensive, where past wounds beg to be felt again. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, be tolerant with others and strict with yourself. That is the Stoic way, not to suppress her emotion, but to become strong enough in yourself that her waves do not drown you. And when she sees that, when she feels that your presence remains intact in the face of her inner chaos, something inside her unlocks. She no longer has to choose between love and truth. She no longer has to quiet her intuition to protect your ego. She no longer has to apologize for her tears. She simply feels, and you stay. Because for you, her emotions are not a threat. They are an invitation to see her, to understand her, to meet her where she actually lives. And when you do that, when you breathe through her breakdowns, hold space during her storms, and remain calmly connected as she unravels, you show her that love doesn't flee when it gets real. It deepens. If you are a man, don't ask her to shrink her emotional world to fit your capacity. Expand your presence to meet her there. Let her cry without recoiling. Let her rage without retreating. Let her feel everything and remind her again and again that you are not going anywhere. So say it. Say it when she expects you to leave. Say it when she tries to hide. Say it when she thinks her feelings are flaws. Your emotions don't scare me. And in that moment, you don't just make her feel safe. You make her feel known. Number 8, you make me want to be more disciplined. She's heard all the usual compliments. You're beautiful. You're different. You're everything I've ever wanted. Words meant to flatter, to impress, to open the door to her heart or her body. But this one stops her in her tracks. You make me want to be more disciplined. Not because it flatters her ego, but because it reveals something far deeper. She inspires your evolution, and not through pressure, not through guilt, not by telling you what to do, but simply by being who she is. You've watched her move through life with focus, with intention, the way she holds herself to a standard, even when no one's watching, the way she says no when it's easier to say yes, the way she honors her word, her health, her space. You don't just admire her for it, you're called higher by it. And that is a compliment most women never hear because most men are too afraid to say. You challenge me in a way that humbles me. Marcus Aurelius once said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. And being in her presence makes you want to be one. Not to impress her, not to keep her, but because something in her awakens something dormant in you. Her energy doesn't make you lazy, it sharpens your edge. You look at her and suddenly want to. Train harder, speak with more clarity, rise earlier, act with more integrity, lead from principle, not impulse. not because she demands it, but because her standard reveals the gap between who you are and who you could be. She doesn't mother you, she doesn't nag, she simply is, and in that being, you feel the urge to grow. That is the rarest kind of feminine energy, the kind that calls forth order, not chaos, the kind that inspires sovereignty, not codependence. So when you say, "You make me want to be more disciplined," you are telling her, "Your presence sharpens me. Your feminine doesn't weaken my masculine, it strengthens it. I feel called to rise, not because I'm inadequate, but because you remind me of what's possible." And when she hears that she doesn't just feel desired, she feels respected on a level that transcends appearance, because now you're seeing the part of her the world often overlooks, her energetic command, and you're not resisting it, you're receiving it. If you are a man, don't just look for a woman who makes you feel good. Look for the one who makes you better without needing to try. Let her energy reveal your edges. Let her discipline ignite your own. Let her presence remind you that you were never meant to drift. You were built to lead with principle. So tell her when her actions speak louder than her words. Tell her when her example touches you deeper than praise ever could. You make me want to be more disciplined. And when you do, you're not just giving a compliment, you're naming a sacred truth. That real intimacy isn't just about connection, it's about elevation. And she will feel it, she will hear it, she will trust it, because now she knows you're not here to be impressed, you're here to become. Number 9, there's something holy in the way you hurt. You say it when she thinks she's at her lowest, when the weight in her chest feels unspeakable, when her tears fall not for sympathy but because there's no other place for them to go. She's not asking for rescue. She's not looking for pity. She's simply breaking quietly in front of you. And when you look at her and whisper, "There's something holy in the way you hurt," you say what no one else has ever dared to say. Your pain isn't shameful, it's sacred. She's used to hiding it, used to being told to move on, be strong, don't feel too much. She's been trained to keep her grief elegant, her sadness convenient, her sorrow invisible. Because the world only celebrates the feminine when she is light, when she is love, when she is joy, wrapped in beauty. But you sit with her in the places that don't glow. You see the divinity in her ache, not because you fetishize suffering, but because you understand. Pain is the evidence of depth, of risk, of love that was given fully, of dreams that meant something, of wounds that have shaped wisdom. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." And the woman who hurts without collapsing, who bleeds without turning bitter, who feels everything and still chooses to rise, she is the way. Her hurt is not weakness, it is a map, a fire that refines, a mirror that reveals the core of what matters. So when you say, "There's something holy in the way you hurt," you are not glorifying her pain, you are sanctifying her courage. You're saying, "I see you grieving with grace. I see you holding sadness without losing your softness. I see you feeling fully and still choosing to love again." And in that moment, you become more than a man. You become witness. You become the stillness that surrounds her chaos, the presence that doesn't pull her out of pain, but anchors her in it safely, fully, without rush. And she will never forget it, because the woman who is seen in her beauty feels adored, but the woman who is seen in her suffering feels loved. If you are a man, don't run from her sadness. Don't try to fix what is not broken. Don't shame what was meant to be processed, not silenced. Sit with her, hold the space, breathe when she can't, and speak only when you've truly seen her. There's something holy in the way you hurt. Say it not as a seduction. Say it as a reverence. Say it as a vow. I see the beauty in your brokenness, and I will never ask you to hide it to be loved. Because that is what the strongest women long for most. Not to be untouched by pain, but to be held in it, and told that even here, especially here, they are still worthy of everything. Number 10, you don't need to give me anything. She may not say it aloud, but she often carries a weight, the silent pressure to perform, to offer, to earn love by doing. She's been conditioned to believe that her presence alone isn't enough. That affection must be returned instantly. That if she isn't giving something her time, her body, her care, her praise, then she risks being seen as ungrateful, selfish, or replaceable. And so she offers, sometimes before she's ready, sometimes when she's exhausted, sometimes just to keep the peace. Because somewhere along the way, she learned, love must be repaid. But when you look into her eyes with no hunger in your gaze, no expectation in your energy, and you say, you don't need to give me anything, you do more than disarm her defenses. You break the contract of conditional affection. You tell her, I'm not here to take, I'm here to witness. Your value is not transactional. You don't need to offer proof of your worth. This kind of presence is rare because most men, consciously or not, want something. They wait for the moment she opens up, gives in, pays back. Even kindness is sometimes offered with invisible strings, but stoic love has no such demands. It is still. It is full. It is complete in itself. And that's what you show her when you say, you don't need to give me anything. You are no longer placing the burden of reciprocation on her soul. You're offering freedom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, to love only what happens, what was destined, no greater harmony. And to love her in this way, without expectation, without clinging, is to offer her harmony. You are saying, if you never give me your body, I will still honor your presence. If you never say what I hope to hear, I will still hold space for your truth. If you choose to protect your heart, I will still respect its boundaries. And suddenly, she no longer feels like a performer on stage. She becomes a woman again, a being, not a function. Her walls don't need to fall. They begin to dissolve because they were built to defend against those who take. But you came to witness, not to extract. You came to revere, not to conquer. You came not to be filled, but to overflow. If you are a man, understand this. The greatest act of masculine presence is not pursuit. It is restraint. To see beauty without needing to possess it. To receive love without demanding it. To sit with desire and not make it a debt. So look at her when she's trying to offer, to prove, to serve, and say it with all the calm power of a grounded soul. You don't need to give me anything. And in that moment, you are no longer asking her to choose between love and freedom. You are becoming the man in whose presence she can finally experience both. And that is the kind of love that never fades. Because it was never based on what she gave. It was built on who she was allowed to be.